Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inspirational Interviews. I'm Hannah Levin with Heartfelt Wellbeing, and I'm super excited to share an awesome guest with you today, all the way from Germany. And before I introduce her, I just want to remind you all that I am going live using StreamYard. So if you would like us to be able to see who you are in the comments, and you're totally welcome to interact and engage in this interview with questions and comments, but please grant StreamYard permission so we can see who you are and respond to you there. So this inspirational interview series is always super fun for me because I get to talk with many amazing people. And Isabelle Havers, I'm going to have her pronounce her last name. I was just practicing it beforehand. It's like a sound that we don't have in American English. She is my guest today. So I'm going to just read her little bio so you get a little background for her and then bring her on here. So the topic for our conversation today is manifesting self-trust, which I talked about in our yoga practice this morning. So if you all were there, you can feel into that in your body of what self-trust feels like. So for 10 years, Isabelle worked in corporate, dealing with budgets, forecasts, target, actual analyses, working on P&Ls, and balancing the spreadsheets and balance sheets. While working in corporate, she often asked herself why she was not feeling happy. She really gave her all and basically was working her booty off and still would not receive the recognition that she would have wanted for herself. This had an impact on her never being truly happy in her job and living in the feeling of lack. She would question herself, doubting that she was doing the right thing, and thought that something was wrong with her because she felt that lost in corporate. Isabelle got herself started on a self-development journey in creating a morning routine, which we're going to talk about, because those of you that work with me know that that's so important. And that would change her life forever. She got herself out of the mentality of lack, self-doubt, and went over to trusting herself, her talents, and her intuition to attract joy and ease into her life. Today, Isabelle works as an intuition coach and helps women to get out of the lack mentality and get from self-doubt to self-trust. So without further ado, here is Isabelle. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
So glad to have you here with us.
It's so good to be on here.
Yay. Will you, just as we get started here, tell us a little bit kind of like what your life looks like? You're in Munich, Germany, and like what's your world these days?
My world. I live in Munich in Germany. That's so Munich is in the south of Germany. I actually come from the western part of Germany, so close to Cologne and Düsseldorf. These are the biggest cities that people might still know. I live in Munich now for 8 years. Because I decided that this is my favorite city to live in, and I love to hike and I love to ski, and the mountains are so close by. It's basically, you can be in the mountains within a 30-minute drive, and that's why I decided to move down here. And actually, I moved here, first of all, because I love the city so much, and then also because I found a job in my further life, as I always say it. Because I was still working in corporate when I decided to move down here. And I decided to leave corporate only about 1.5 years ago, finally. I've been working as a coach since about 2.5 years now, but then I never really cut the cord 100% with corporate. And then finally last year I was like, okay, I'm done with the corporate world from my side. It's not that corporate is bad or anything. It's just not for me. It's not my world. But I love to help women now that work in corporate that basically, as you just said, bust their booty off and want recognition, want their work to be honored and valued, and never really get that recognition that they want and that they deserve. And I help them to gain the self-trust, the confidence that they are looking for in their life.
Yay, that's so awesome. So define what self-trust is for us. What what is it?
That's actually a good question. I've never been asked
Oh,
that. That's exciting. Exciting. I think that self-trust is showing up differently for every one of us. It's like
mm,
knowing that you are capable, um, not because of any certifications that you gained or because of trainings that you did or because of your education, but just because you are, and that you are totally worth everything that you want in your life just because you are. Because
mm,
I feel like our world and our societies are so focused on doing and hustling and fighting, especially in a corporate career, as I have experienced it, that we need to focus more on the being. We are human
mhm.
beings, is something that I love to say, not human doings.
Yeah.
And so self-trust for me has a lot to do with the being part, with the feminine part of our
Mm.
lives, which is so important, but has been neglected for so many years now. And yeah, should be more in our lives. And I feel that there's a shift going on as well.
Mhm.
Many people become more aware of the being part as well and gain more self-trust and that they're capable of things that they have never thought about before, maybe as well.
Yeah, I love that so much. That's like so much of what I teach too is more the feminine evolution that's more like cyclical. And so there's times of being active and times of rest.
Right.
Um, and that beauty of recognizing what that is for each of us, because it's not necessarily the same for everybody.
Right.
That's so wonderful. Those of you watching, if you have anything that you want to say, or just like, yes, cheering on what Isabelle's saying, feel free to type in the chat. I see there's a bunch of you watching, but nobody's typed in the chat yet. So if you have any
Just say
questions or
hello.
anything along the way, yeah, just say hello. Um, all right. So I wanted to, in reading through the little bio that I just read, one thing that struck me was this link that you made, or that I feel like I read, between trust and happiness, that there's an inherent link there between
Mhm,
trust and happiness. Talk a
mhm.
little bit more about that.
Yeah. Um, so many people think that happiness is something that they find in the external world, that they will be happy when they have the new car, that they will be happy once they move into their dream house or they have their dream career. But actually, happiness is something that is created within us. And talking about it gives me goosebumps. It's nothing that we can find somewhere else, but only within ourselves. And that's a journey. It's a process. It's nothing that you decide to be happy or overnight and then you're done forever. But it's actually a shift in your mindset. Of course, you got to make the decision. Okay, I want to be happy. I want to attract more happiness, more joy into my life. That's a decision that you make, first step. But then, of course, you got to make some changes to a lifestyle that you have led to the point and that obviously has not made you happy so far. So that's why I, for example, came up with a morning routine, because I was always looking in my career, in my car, in my house, in my apartment, looking for happiness. And I thought I had it all. I thought me earning a lot of money was me being happy. Um, and to a certain extent, these materialistic things, they can add to your happiness. But if you are not happy from within, if you are not content just being who you are with nothing else, with no clothes on, then nothing in this world will ever make you happy. Not your car, not your apartment, and not even another person, because I feel like so many people are also referring to other people, to their soulmate or whatever that is, and put the pressure on them to make them happy. If I find my dream partner, I will be totally happy. Well, that's putting a lot of pressure on that other person.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So not looking for those external, like check the boxes, but really coming back to like what's your inner orientation towards your
Right.
experience of your life. Yeah, that's so powerful. So
And
powerful.
there's nothing wrong with driving a nice car or
Right.
anything, but there is a difference between getting that new car because you want it and because you like it really much, or getting the new car because you think that this will make you happy. And this is
Right.
the missing piece to your life in order to make you show up as a happy person.
Right. Yeah. So it's not the antidote. It's just part of what you might enjoy in your life, but it's not the answer if things are out of balance internally anyway. It's, yeah.
Right.
So let's dive into and Stephanie says hello. Hello, Stephanie. Thanks for timing in
Hey.
here. Um, and so tell us about this morning routine that you developed. And I'm so curious to see how that aligns with what we do with Ayurveda.
Mm-hmm. Um, I have a little story around that whole morning routine thing because
Yeah.
the people that I work with are in a situation that I have been in myself while I was in corporate. I was looking for happiness in my career, and I thought I had a really amazing company. The company is great, but obviously it didn't bring me the happiness that I wanted.
Mhm.
And then I also, before I had the job here in Munich, I had a different job in a different town, and I was in a burnout after 2 years in that company. So I was really exhausted. I was tired. I was basically done with in at the age of 26, I guess I was.
Mm.
And I was blaming myself. I was the biggest loser. I was a failure. And, I was so young and I was beating myself up constantly because I got sick. And um, that's why I actually changed jobs, because I thought, well, if I change job, then things will get better. I have a different environment. I will have nicer coworkers, whatever that was. And only a couple of years into the new job, I found myself in a similar situation. I didn't get burnout again, but I was tired again a lot. And that's when I realized, okay, maybe this is not it's not the job itself. It has something to do with me. Not that I was thinking I am wrong, but I was thinking, okay, maybe it's something in my attitude towards things, towards my career, towards my job, because I thought that I had to put a lot of work and a lot of effort into my job to be able to have a great career. And that didn't work out the
Mm.
way I had imagined it. And that's when I actually started to come across things like meditation. And I actually started reading that one book. It's called Miracle Morning
Mhm.
by Hale Elrod is his name, I guess. And he has this lifesaver concept where he has like the 6 defined steps what your morning routine should look like. And so I started this and I noticed, okay, there's a difference in my day when I start doing all of these things. At one point, I got to a point where I felt exhausted by all of these things. So I decided to come up with my own morning routine. And I realized, okay, when I take time for myself, when I take care of myself, that has an impact on my whole life, on my career. I was working differently. I was approaching people differently. I was less aggressive to start with. Not that I was beating up people, but I was reacting in a kinder way. And that's when I realized, okay, these morning routines and these tools that I'm working with, they do something with me, and that's happening within me. And
Mm.
that's when I started to realize, okay, there is something in these tools that really can bring me to a point where I can say, okay, I might not have the dream career that I always wanted just yet back then, but I feel more relaxed. I feel more in alignment. I feel more in balance. And at that point, I didn't know the concept of the feminine and the masculine energy.
Mhm.
But actually, I was never in my feminine energy when I was in corporate. I was always in that hustling and pushing and exceeding your limits mode all of the time. So I was way too much in that masculine energy. And the morning routine actually helped me to balance the both sides that I had in my, or I still do have them in myself, but they
Mhm.
helped me balance that. And that was for me an absolute game changer.
That's awesome. Yeah, the masculine and the feminine, so powerful, and especially living in such in the West, like in Europe and in the United States, such masculine, energetically masculine dominated cultures where it's all about linear thinking, moving from point A to point B, and achievement, and um, yeah, all the like go go go, right? So that's powerful. And that energy in the morning, I describe it often as like filling your inner cup before anybody needs anything from you, you know,
Right.
like you get to go in the world the after your morning practices being like, yes, I am filled up and abundantly able to have the conversations and meet the needs. Whereas if we just get up and go, then we're like, why are you asking anything of me? Or like, what's all of this coming from? So I'd love to hear what your morning routine consists of. Are you willing to share that?
Sure. Um, as I said before, I started with a meditation, and because I also heard that it was so fancy and everyone was meditating, so I was like, okay, if everyone is doing, then I can obviously do it myself. And actually, to be honest, when I started with meditation, I felt I sucked. I really was like,
I think most people do. It's hard.
how can you just sit still and not think about anything, that's for me was the concept of meditation. But I guess with practice, you get better and you learn how to tap into that whole concept of meditation, and that's actually still one of my favorite parts of my morning routine. I do also do tapping. I have never had a training on tapping. I just do it for myself. I have an app that I use for that. And every now and then I just listen to music. So my morning routine, even though I have a concept what a morning routine could include, I'm not dogmatic about it. It's not that it has to look in a like a certain way. You don't have to do meditation. If you don't like it, then don't do it. I'm always saying find things that really make you feel good in the morning. And if it's meditation, fine. If it's singing to a song that you love, then do that. So one days it might be meditation for me. I usually do meditate though. There is hardly any day that I don't meditate. But sometimes after that, I get up and just dance around. I just put on some fancy music and I just dance. Or, as I said, I love singing as well. It's not that my neighbors fancy that, but I guess they just have to live with that. um, for me, morning routine also includes taking a shower. As simple as that sounds, that's a part of my morning routine as well. My breakfast is part of my morning routine. I'm not someone that can survive without a breakfast. I just need to have my food in the morning. And also, oh yeah, I actually do start my mornings with water. And I guess that's something that you do in Ayurveda as well, right?
Mhm.
With the warm water. That's how I do start my day as well. And then I also drink celery juice. Yeah, so that's some of the parts that I do. There are some things like the water that I do every morning. But for example, meditation, I don't do necessarily. If I don't feel it, I don't do it. Um, then I might switch it with tapping or dancing or maybe
Mhm.
even reading or listening to an inspiring podcast. It's for me a morning routine is all about setting the tone right for the day and
Mhm.
right in a way that you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how does that in your mind tie into self-trust? like
Mhm.
having that morning practice?
Mhm. It's because I start the day in a way that makes me feel really good. I show up with a different confidence. I show
Mhm.
up with a different self trust. And also, as meditation, tapping, singing, dancing, all of these, well, even though they seem pretty passive, except for the dancing, maybe, these are feminine um, activities. And once you start tapping into that feminine energy more and more, you are also able to listen to that inner voice, that inner guidance, or also called intuition. And once you're able to listen to that and to understand it, you will also build trust. Trust into your life, trust into that guidance, that everything in your life is working out for you and that everything is happening for you and not to you. And if you start doing these morning routines and whatever they look like on a regular basis, you will feel that confidence and that clarity rise automatically. I don't think that there's a scientific explanation behind. It's just the feeling that you have when you start your day feeling good about yourself. That's how you approach situations in your day as well, even stressful situations.
Mm.
And you will also build resilience in stressful situations, and that will also result in more confidence, and that again results in more self-trust that you are capable to handle basically anything in your life that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so powerful. I feel like I've experienced that so much in my own life of like these experiences and like that morning practice really grounding me so then I can go into the day being like, oh yeah, like I'm centered within myself so I can make
Mhm.
better choices and have better interactions. I'm curious if you have certain ways that you help people access intuition or ways to recognize what is intuition versus, say, ego, or
Mhm.
like, is that enough lead in for you to talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
um, I always say that intuition is usually your first thought that comes into your mind.
Hmm.
Whatever you are trying to decide for yourself, or whatever situation you find yourself in that you're facing in your life, your first thought, your first impulse that you have in regards to that situation, that's your intuition. And then usually these thoughts kick in and they're like, "Oh, you sure? You really want to do that? Think about it again." That's your ego telling you to
Hmm.
not do whatever your first thought, whatever your first impulse is. And it might be a little difficult at the beginning to listen to that. First of all, to hear that first thought, to listen to it, because sometimes it can be scary. Sometimes it can also seem like totally irresponsible. And that's also what the following thoughts will probably tell you as well. Like, how can you? How could you? How dare you? All of these things. Um, but the more and more you decide to follow that one voice, to follow that first thought, to follow that first impulse, you will notice how your life will change in a really good way, because you are led by something higher, as I would say. I mean, you can call it the universe, you can call it God, whatever you want to call it. But the more and more you try and listen and to that voice, to that first impulse, to that first thought, the easier it will get to first hear it, and then also to follow it and to kind of surrender to it, because it might seem a little irresponsible every now and then to follow that voice.
Hmm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, I love that description of it. And yeah, like really paying attention. I think the practices of meditation, um, and mindfulness, really, of like really tuning in, being present where we are. But
Mhm.
meditation really opens us up to connect to something bigger. Like here we are in our little worlds, in our little lives, with our little dramas and our little tasks we have to do today. And meditation lets us open up to a larger perspective, even if when we're done with meditation, we come back to our life and what's at hand, that meditation helps us see a bigger perspective. And that's where, at least for me, I feel like that voice of like that first hit of like, oh, this, it really, really gets cultivated in that morning
Yeah.
time of expansiveness where we
Right.
don't
And you
feel
can
so
also,
stuck.
right. And you can also use meditation and ask for help throughout your meditating
Mm-hmm.
process. You can ask the universe, God, or whatever it is, to help you, to show you what to do, and to
Mm-hmm.
to give you clearer signs if you feel like nothing shows up. I don't see any pictures coming up in my meditation, or anything. Ask for help, ask for support, and something will show up in your life. It will.
Yeah.
Just that it's a process. People get really impatient, like, Isabelle, you said, when I meditate, then it will all
Right.
work out. Yeah, it's a process.
Right.
It's you worked hard on your limiting beliefs. I mean, usually it takes my clients like 30, 40 years to really come up with really awesome limiting beliefs. So take your time and also, you know, lean into the process of getting rid of them again.
Yeah, I love that. And so that leads me to another question of like, I'm curious about the idea of like doing the right thing.
Hmm.
Like a lot of times we're presented with a choice and we're like, what's the right thing to do?
Hmm.
And that like maybe there's not a right thing, but there's a right or a more nourishing choice for you. But a lot of people, I think, are like asking everybody else, like, what's the right thing to do?
Hmm.
And how does that relate, do you feel like, to self-trust
Hmm.
and that?
Well, first of all, there is no right or wrong decision, as I always say. There is either a decision that really makes you feel good, that gives you the feeling of knowing that you made a decision that really serves you, or, I mean, the other option also serves you because you learn from it. You might think that, oh my gosh, why did I, how could I, whatever it is, it will bring you experience. The next time you will be put into the same situation, you will be put in front of a same or similar decision, you will know instantly that option B that you chose the first time is not the option that you will choose that
Mhm.
time. So this also relates to the self-trust, obviously, because when you are intuitive, and we're all intuitive people, we're all intuitive human beings. It's just that we forgot how to listen to that voice.
Mm.
So it might take a little longer to find that inner voice, to listen to it again. But the more you do that, the more self-trust you have. And then when you come to a point where you have to make a decision, you'll know. You'll know, and then, and it might sound like, oh yeah, come on, Isabelle, you're telling me it's so totally easy. Yeah, once you get to that point, it is easy because you know you can rely on yourself and you can rely on your intuition because it always knows. And then now I lost what I wanted to say. Anyways, but when you come to that point again and you've practiced a lot of meditation and you gain a lot of confidence and self-trust, that's when it will be easier for you to make decisions and to know that the decision that you made will serve you on your highest good.
Awesome. Yeah, so great. Amazingly, our time has come to a close. Thank you for sharing so much with us today. And where can folks that are watching find out more about you and get some of your wisdom?
Yeah, thanks.
More of your
Um,
wisdom.
I do have a website. It's my name, so it's isabellehavers.com. Or you can find me on Instagram. It's also my name, Isabelle Havers. And I am on Facebook, but not so much. But yeah, I guess if people have any questions that they want to get answered, they can just put them into the comment, and then I can just hop into your group and answer them. So yeah.
Great. Yeah. And you had mentioned having a handout or resource that we can post from you
Ah, yeah,
with the,
right.
okay,
I do have a guide that can help you with getting into a process of a morning routine, what you can include into a morning routine, what it can look like for you. But as I said, I'm all about not being dogmatic about a morning routine. So be
great.
flexible, make it fun for you. And once you've included the fun, it's not the drag that some people or many people see in a morning routine, and it will serve you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It was great
Thank
talking with
you.
you. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I know it's evening there. So,
Yep, it's almost time for me to call it a day.
yes. Well, have a good evening. And
Thank
I'm
you.
going to get back to work. But
All right. Thanks
thanks
so
so
much.
much, Isabel. Great to talk with you. Take
Yeah,
care.
thank you. Take care too.